The following show features episodic breakdowns of Jackass, either performed by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. For your safety, avoid listening to this podcast at all times. Hi, I'm Mikey Ehrenworth.
I'm Jason Wellwood.
And I'm Chris Ehrenworth.
Welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to Jackast. It's the podcast where we're on a path of destruction through every single episode of Jackass.
We're three lifelong fans of the show, reliving the belly laughs, bad ideas, and broken bones.
We're doing something a little different today, boys and girls, and other.
I knew you weren't gonna let that guy. I knew just as soon as you
That's
said
his new
boys, I'm like,
catchphrase.
he's fucked. He's fucked.
It's my new catchphrase, man. We all gotta have a catchphrase. I'm just being inclusive, Chris. That's my new nickname.
Fair. Okay, that makes sense.
But so we're kind of
What's
thinking
Mikey's
about
catchphrase? I murder people and don't tell anyone about it.
That can't be my catchphrase because then I'd have to tell people about it.
Oh fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, if you go to his house and look for, some ground beef patties in the deep freeze, just watch out. You never know what you're
Absolutely
gonna
watch out. By
I
the
know
way,
what Mikey's his catchphrase should be.
okay, I'm curious.
Oh, this is gonna
Let's
be
see.
good, I can
What is
tell.
it going to be, Chris?
Which one of you little ones want to come for the mustache ride? A mustache ride, Mikey.
Yeah, that checks out. Here's the thing. I bet you we could have played a game there where I write down what you're about to say, and I would have gotten that at like guess number 3.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not that smart, man. I ain't got much.
I like
don't
your
got too many marbles
catchphrase
up
better.
here.
Mine was no good compared. Next to that's like standing next to giants. Chris, do you have a fun fact of the day?
Well,
for
I'm
us?
gonna quickly just explain real quick what we're actually doing today. Because
Okay,
they
if
need
you
to know
want
what we're
to.
doing to even know what the fun fact day would be about.
Fuck,
Sure.
yeah, no,
Quid
you're
pro
right.
row, Austin, Squid pro row.
Close enough, yeah.
So yeah,
What?
today, fuck. So today, what we wanted to do, we found a really cool video of Johnny Knoxville, and he was talking about what he thought was the biggest Jackass stunts of all times. This article was put together by GQ magazine. It was something on YouTube, and it was a really good video, especially considering we actually rate the stunts. So we wanted to kind of compare how many of his things touched on the things that we liked, which ones we disagreed with, agree with, etc. So, we're just going to try and do something a little bit more fun, a little bit exciting today.
Yeah, definitely. We'll link to that video as well in our episode description. Chris, why don't you go ahead? You said you had a surprise for us before we got started. What was the surprise about? I'm excited.
Well, this article was published on YouTube on March 1st of the year 2022. And it was pretty fucking doom and gloom, man, when I went out there trying to find articles.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically the height of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. This is when invasions was happening. United States dedicated that they were gonna, help Ukraine, but not send troops. There's tons of articles about just really dark shit going on, and I'm Ukrainians in my background. I ain't got no hate on Russian people or nothing like that because I don't think they're involved in a lot of this shit. But it wasn't the funnest fun fact for me to do today. I just want to send some light, and everyone's just trying to be people. That's it.
So that's your fun fact is that your fun fact is that shit was really dark that day. That's your
didn't
fun
you hear
fact.
it? He just wants people being people. That's what he said.
Yeah,
right,
Mikey.
Chris?
Easy there.
You know how
Depeche
people
Mode?
do these
People
things
be
called
people.
protests, and they're trying to shed light, use their platform to shed light on worldwide issues.
Yes.
That's all I'm trying to do, man. Like I said, I'm a sex symbol, and now I'm a political activist, baby.
Political activist.
Can't wait to find out what you're going to add to the resume next week.
Oh my god,
hey,
it could be anything.
You think about that. And this week, what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of how this episode's going to work. So we all watched the Johnny Knoxville breakdown video. He talks about some of the favorite stunts of the Jackass movies. And basically, we're just going to jump right in. We're going to talk a bit about the things that Johnny Knoxville thought stuck out and kind of, talk about some things we maybe didn't know about the stunts, some surprises there. Then we want to talk a bit about maybe some of the major important elements from those sketches we remember. Now, most of these we've covered on the podcast, if not all of them at this point, I believe.
No,
But we just
Jackass
wanna
3.
go
There's a
over
couple
them.
from Jackass 3 that we haven't touched on yet.
You are correct. So there'll be a couple there, but we're not going to go very deep like we traditionally do on the show and deep dive. We're more so just going to talk impressions. But what we really wanted to accomplish here is kind of find out with each stunt whether we agree with Johnny Knoxville or if we felt that our initial impressions were closer and aligned better with, how we feel on each stunt. So there was a lot of surprises here. I think out of the whole thing, there's some behind the scenes knowledge packed into this video. If you haven't seen it, I say go watch it. It's a great watch. that you're going to learn things that you just didn't know, because this can only come from the man himself. So I'm excited to jump into this and kind of break it down with you guys. Any closing thoughts on this intro piece before we dive right into stunt number 1?
No, I would just say highly, highly recommended. If you're already hearing our voices and you haven't seen the video, it's like a 20-minute video. It's absolutely worth watching. And a lot of our past episodes of this podcast have been, 4-parters, 5-parters based on movies, not quite self-contained. I'm excited to get back to an episode that is just focused on one specific thing. It's out there, easily accessible to anyone who wants to go watch it. So I'd just recommend go see that before you continue on with this podcast.
Yeah, Mikey, great idea. Let's drive them. We got them listening to our podcast. Let's send them somewhere else and get them fucking down the YouTube rabbit hole so they don't listen to the rest of our show. Fucking smart thing, bud.
So they can do research and enjoy the episode a little bit more.
I don't know. If it was me, I'd just fucking watch different shit.
That's true. The contrast, Chris, between the Mike Tyson sweatshirt and your haircut is really just throwing me off. There's something there. I don't know. I'm having a hard time looking in your direction. I feel like trouble's just going to come my way if I keep staring
I'm going
you
for
down like this.
Like 2 favorite people of the 90s, Dennis Rodman and Mike Tyson,
Yeah.
Which would be a fucking dangerous, badass combination of a motherfucker, eh?
Please tell me next week you'll come on with the leopard spots.
No, I'm going full on dress, maybe. Oh, fuck. What I say I kind of got to do on here. I've done it with the hair and a few other things.
We're expecting the dress now.
Nah, ain't gonna happen.
All right. Well, Chris will bring some surprises next week, I'm sure. Always full of surprises, this guy.
If he needs to find a dress, I know one place, Jay, that he might be able to find one. Do you know
where's that, Mikey?
It might be a department store he could pop into around the bend.
Nope. Hey, this next sketch. All right, I got to give you that one. I can't really come up with anything better and then say it was my idea like I like to do on this show. But Mikey, you win this one. Yes, department store boxing with good old Butterbean. You remember this one. Knoxville gets his fucking face clobbered in a department store. I love the way Knoxville sets this up for us, though, because he kind of just comes in saying that he loves to fight. He's a real scrapper. And he does mention that what I really found funny here, guys, and I hope you'll agree, is that when he's talking about the interaction with Butterbean before the sketch, they're like best of buds all day. Butterbean's cracking jokes, smiling with them. And then as soon as they put the gloves on, he's like a different person. He can no longer communicate with Butterbean. He's just getting death glances like the rest of the day until the bell rings. Yeah, and I just thought that was so funny, but I can totally see it,
Even one further on that, it was funny because he was literally like, hey, Butterbean, I need you to go full speed. And he's like, I can't do that. And he's like, no, please, like, I really need you to go full speed. He's like, and then, like you said, once the gloves comes on, it was like a different animal. Like, I love those, like, speaking of Mike Tyson, for example, it's like he's a completely different person outside of the ring than when he's in the ring. And once that bell rings and those gloves are on, it's like you're dealing with a psychopath at that point, right?
And you kind of need to be, right, if that's your profession, is hitting 100%. People in the head. And I bet you there's a different place that someone like Johnny Knoxville goes to as well, when he's about to get into the thick of things just before a stunt. We didn't mention, this is from Jackass the movie. Obviously, if you've seen Jackass the movie, this is one of the most iconic stunts. An immediate one right off the top, when I knew we were going to get into Johnny Knoxville's most iconic moments, this is one that I thought of. There's a lot of ones that I initially thought of that did eventually make his list, but this as number one, it makes sense to put it there. Because, Johnny Knoxville's concussions, we have recorded in like historical data, and this is one of the ones he ends up snoring in. One thing I want to mention, I think we should all kind of give a little bit of insight in when we talk about these stunts, is like a major takeaway, because Johnny doesn't always give you that in this interview. Sometimes he says the stunt, talks about what it was like, but he doesn't really say what it meant to him. So I almost want to imbue the stunts with that. And I think with Butterbeans, with the department store boxing, my major takeaway from this one is that Johnny Knoxville's basic instinct, his base level, even coming out of a concussion, is to be funny. It's like, if his eyes are open, the lights are on, camera's rolling, and it's action. And that's when he opens his eyes after literally having a concussion so bad that he tried to swallow his tongue. He says his Butterbean okay, is one of my favorite lines in Jackass history. And he adds
Yeah,
this in the
definitely.
interview. This
Line
is
in
one
the
of my
movie.
favorite parts of this interview, because he says the line, he says, and is Butterbean okay? He pauses and he says, because I thought I'd killed him. Like, somehow
He
even
still couldn't
adding to
let
the
him loose,
scenario
yeah.
and making it funnier. This is one of those ones that really made Johnny shine and showed he's able to get punishment, bring some star power to the department store and to Jackass. I love this one.
Mikey, what were our ratings on
Totally.
this one?
So we gave this one, I gave this, every rating I give is going to be me, Chris, Jay in order. So 8.5, 8, and 8. I gave this one a slightly higher rating than you guys, but clearly we really liked it.
Yeah, looking back, though, I'm kind of shocked. I feel like, if anything, I undersold this in my previous rating. Some of these ones we'll go through later on. I think it might be the opposite, but when you really boil it down, I don't think I understood the level of the concussion thing. I've been listening, like, who was it? Dave England, I think, was on Steve-O's podcast recently, and he was talking about, they were bringing up, like, Knoxville's concussions, and they both were really hitting on this specific moment. Like, this was one of the worst bell rungs he's had, and it was very early on, which could have been, like, it's something they've always been concerned about type thing. So, yeah, no, I definitely, I'm glad this was on the list for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind is, the aura and the history that this one holds is one thing, but it's pretty quick. Like they get in and out, the punching happens. And I think we one thing we talked about when we were reviewing it is it would have been nice to have it a little bit bigger somehow. I don't know that I still agree with that fully, because I kind of think that sometimes smaller is better. But I think that was one of the things that we were touching on when we reviewed this one.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all gave it a pretty high rating, so I think we'd agree that, there's something to be said for this one. It stood the test of time, but would you guys say, I guess definitively, is this one of the biggest stunts of all time? Like, Mikey, you're just kind of saying there, it's kind of changed for you a little bit. But Chris, like, what would you say? Would you say does this fit the title of the video?
Yes, I do think so, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
How about you, Jay?
I think, like, the biggest, if you want to say takeaway from this stunt for me is that it quickly, let's say you were fairly new to the series, right? And you kind of knew the guys, but you hadn't watched a TV show or something. This would put Johnny Knoxville in the badass category pretty quickly for you. And I think for that alone, it's a standout. And just the fact that he's nothing but balls going in there to fight this monster of a boxer. And I think it totally deserves a spot in this video.
Definitely.
But yeah, moving on. I mean, this next one, if you want to talk about getting walloped, it's the Riot control test. You may remember this. This is the Stingmore mine that is loud as a motherfucker. It basically just shoots those little rubber balls out at the boys. We've got Ryan Dunn, Knoxville, and Bam. This is from Jackass number 2. It's a pretty badass stunt. If you remember, the one thing I love about this, and Knoxville references this in the YouTube video here, that the noise was almost worse than the actual impact and the actual sketch itself. That the first time they did the test run and the thing went off, like, you just see guys leaving the room. They're just like, fuck that. Like, nobody wants to do it. And it's just, I love that the build up to this. Knoxville also says he was just supposed to be doing it solo. He had a bit of a heart to heart with Ryan Dunn in the car where he's like, I can't do this, Johnny. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And, I think because Dunn's, as he says here, he's always the one to kind of step up. And when someone needs support, he's there for you, and he'll do a sketch that either no one wants to do or you just need a second man. And I think just, seeing that Johnny Knoxville was about to take this thing head on by himself, he had a change of heart at the last minute. And there you go. Before you know it, you got him, you got Bam in there, and it's a threesome. I just love the story here behind the scenes, Bam,
if Bam knew Dunn was doing it, he was like, it's like, it became like a snowball effect. It's like, Dunn's doing it? Okay. Oh, all right, fine. Fuck it. I'll do it type shit, Because
Bam's so competitive, right?
Right.
Like, he wants to, he can't be left out. He can't look like the pussy or whatever, right? So
yeah, I think there's a couple things that really stood out to me in this one based on the First of all, Stingmore is the mine they used. What a fucking great name for a weapon. Sting. Are you kidding me? That, like, very on the nose. The other thing is, I think they mislabeled this one in the interview. They called it Riot Control Test, but Riot Control Test was the title of the first, the beanbag launcher in the first one. I'm pretty sure this one was called Weapons Expert. And he misstated it, and they did in the GQ article as well. I'm very surprised, though. The most surprising thing about this portion of the interview is that Johnny mentions in passing during it the weapons test that he did for Big Brother magazine, which also made its way into season 1, episode 1 of Jackass, where he takes the taser, he takes the pepper spray, and eventually gets shot with a revolver with a bulletproof vest. Incredibly surprised that one didn't make this list. And I feel like he brought it up here to sort of draw homage to it. But of all the weapons tests things to do, that one not being the choice is very strange to me. However, yeah.
I think what he was trying to do, Mikey, is actually combine them together as like the weapons testing ones. That's why he brought those up. Like that's kind of like, I think he wasn't saying like that is standalone and this is standalone. He was just saying weapons testing in general, because there's no way he couldn't include the original one,
yeah,
right?
There's definitely an element of that in his interview, but they do spend the most amount of time focused on the Stingmore mine. And I don't mind that necessarily, because we talked about this one. You know, I mentioned already Jackass 2 is from Jackass 2. I gave this one a 9. You gave it an 8.5, Chris, and Jay, you gave this one a 6.9. This one was not about, the stunt was not about taking a mine. The stunt was about Johnny Knoxville being the leader of the group. That's my major takeaway from this one. He's the toughest. He's willing to do the most. And people start to realize, like, love it or hate it, the fact that he's kind of the face of this. When he's willing to do something, you put up or shut up. I love that he gave some love to Ryan Dunn for saying no, getting in the car with him and then following him and ending up doing it. But notice he didn't at all mention Dave England, who was originally supposed to do this stunt, and it's one of the only ones he ever backed out of. I think they did that on purpose, not mentioning Dave England, because they didn't want to say like, oh yeah, and this one guy pussied out of it, because this was still really scary. But it was curious to notice he wasn't mentioned in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot that he did dive out at the end there. Yeah, did you guys catch too as well when he was talking about the riot control and kind of comparing, okay, what is the shittiest part of everything that
That's
I've
what
had
I was
to
just
take
gonna
in
say,
terms of like a riot weapon. And he said the pepper spray was actually worse than this, which at first glance I wouldn't have thought that, but the way he tells the story, if it's 20 minutes of continuous sharp, like unbearable pain in your eyes that you cannot get rid of. And then when you go and take a shower later, it reactivates the pepper spray, which just sounds like a fucking nightmare. So yeah, I can see that, Yeah.
Only Johnny Knoxville would take a Stingmore mine to the face. First of all, he's the only one who didn't go down, which was amazing. We talked about that. Secondly, only he would look back on it. And literally, he's quoted in this interview saying, yeah, this wasn't so bad. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well,
it made Bam Margera cry. He
Comparatively.
cried. And Johnny's like, yeah, it wasn't so bad.
It was just loud, Mikey. It was just loud.
It was just loud.
It was just loud. Yeah, that's all. Looks worse than it is. Just loud. I got to ask before we move on to the next one real quick. This list, I'm assuming this was put together by GQ and not someone on the Jackass crew. I mean, I can only assume that. Do you guys...
I would assume that he had some hand in determining what was on the list.
I would assume it was 100% his list. Maybe I'm just being naive to the way the media works, but it's Johnny Knoxville's list of biggest. If they don't, it's kind of a ripoff, and I don't know.
I kind of hope that's what it was, but I got the feeling the way he talked about him and kind of introed some of the segments, it sounded like they were pitching, and then he would think about it for a second and go, oh, that one, yeah, and then he'd start talking about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to know, because there's a couple in here that we'll get to that I don't really agree with, but yeah, so far so good. I'd say the riot control test does belong in this video.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No like arguments there. Next one, though, this one is a lot less hardcore, but goddamn is it memorable. And speaking of Mr. Ryan Dunn, he is the star of this next one. This is the butt XRay. Man, the finale for Jackass the movie on this one. What a great sketch. One of the cast's favorites, says Johnny Knoxville. Everybody loves this one. Steve-O's dad said no. As we already discussed, this was supposed to be Steve-O's stunt. So Dunn stepped up once again, said, hey, we're not letting this one go in the trash. I'll do it. He's such a team player. I love how Knoxville comments that the doctor was like experiencing a range of emotions from concerned to confused to disgusted. And they put a clip of the doctor in there just repeatedly saying to Ryan, like tapping him on the shoulder, don't tell anybody about this.
The line
here in this room, that's enough.
He already knows that's too many people. I want that tattooed on my body somewhere. I love that so much. Like him looking like genuinely concerned for him. Like no one in your life can find out about this is so good. Not Johnny Knoxville.
Checks out.
Oh yeah,
you'd want that tattooed on your body. I'm just saying.
I want it somewhere. I don't care where it is. Hey, listeners, write in. Where should I get that tattooed on my body?
What I loved about this one, it's the simplest thing. It's that they just lucked out by getting that doctor, because it was that doctor that really made this something special. If it wasn't for the doctor, it's a great idea. But, a lot of the times you can have a great idea, bad reactions, bad ideas, great reactions. And Knoxville made it very clear, which I think we were even talking about when we first reviewed it. Like they found the perfect guy for this thing. And I love that it was just a fluke. They didn't do it 3 different times at 3 different doctors. They just happened to find the right guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was absolutely one of the most memorable moments. This is the moment from the movie that everyone walked away talking about. Like it just was, that element of like man on the street prank with an elaborate concept and something so silly, and the fact that there's some behind the scenes. Like Jackass wasn't always didn't always peel the curtain back and have someone talking to the camera about like the making of the stunt, and to have Steve-O basically say like, this was supposed to be mine and I couldn't do it, and then he's still along for the ride, and it almost gets awkward because he's uncomfortable with the fact that he wasn't willing to do it. This one was 100%, I would say, one of the most iconic moments. My takeaway from it, this almost sounds like I'm making it too serious, but like, tell me this stunt didn't kind of open the door for eschewing like that bro culture homophobia. Like this wasn't about, hey, Ryan Dunn's got a car up his ass and that's gay, so that's funny. It was a prank on the doctor, and it was about a bunch of guys being like, hey, we can do this and be comfortable about it, and it doesn't have to be poking fun at anyone except for the person who thinks that it's weird. And it wasn't as refined at this point in time in Jackass, but I think eventually it gets there. And I think,
or they just thought they just thought it was funny to stick a car up a guy's ass. I think you are thinking too much into it.
No, but it is, but it's not, but that's what's funny about it. Not that he's gay, like that would have been the skate punk mentality back then, would have been like, he's got a car up his ass, therefore he's gay. And that's what's funny about it. The funny thing is he's got a car up his ass, and that's it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, if there was a homophobia thing back then, the car, it parted the proverbial seas and allowed for a more, more open-minded perception.
In this case,
which,
C stands for colon. I agree. Yeah.
Yes. Dunn, you are a pioneer, and rest in peace, buddy. He's so entertaining in this one, too. I love the walk back to the car, the slow walk from the hospital back to the car. Oh, God. I can picture that now. Just that never gets old. Yeah, what a great sketch. I'm glad this was here because I wouldn't have thought of it. Honestly, if you had told me, here's a video of the best Jackass stunts, this wouldn't have popped up. But then, when they put it in here and it came up, I was like, yep, definitely.
Yeah, surprised because I gave this one an 8. Chris gave it a 9. You gave it a 7, which to me felt a little low, but I remember this one not landing as well for you, Jay.
Yeah, I think what it was is I remember, if I remember correctly, someone can go back and listen and give me shit later, but I think it's because I felt like they needed something bigger for the end of the movie or something along those lines.
I thought you were going to say bigger to put in his butt.
Something bigger. Like a cucumber, a zucchini. I don't know. Yeah. But still, like going back to it, there are a lot of funny moments here, and just hearing Knoxville talk about how everybody loves this on the sketch or on the crew, just it adds a little something special to it as well.
Yeah, fine.
But yeah, I think overall we got to keep moving on. We got to keep looking to. Let's go look in someone else's colon, shall we? How about old man Irving Zisman? Now this one, I guess you can't really call it a single sketch because Irving Zisman has multiple sketches. I mean, you've got the Bad Grandpa movie, for God's sake. So this one, I think they're trying to kind of just talk generally about Johnny's old man character and the things he does and what makes him special. Spike Jonze actually came up with this, according to Knoxville. He gives him credit for it. And I'm glad Spike Jonze thought of it because it is a staple of the Jackass films. Irving really has a tendency to wind people up. Johnny Knoxville calls it prick skills, which I love. That's a great way to describe what this old, crotchety old man is. Will you guys agree with me on this one, that Irving Zisman, he's you'd love to see him fuck with people, but if you were ever one of the people getting fucked with, like if you had to encounter Irving Zisman in the wild, you probably wouldn't be having a very good time.
No.
Like even if you knew Knoxville was under there, I feel like he could just find a way to dig under and get right to your nerves. You know what I mean?
He does. He talks about it being his skill of escalate or winding people up and then de-escalating. And in this interview, they keep showing clips of one of my most memorable Irving Zisman moments. It's when he's with the little kid and they're drinking the alcohol, and he winds people up so much that in the stunt, and we talked about this when we reviewed it, the guy who ends up confronting him, we hate him for standing up to a guy who was giving alcohol to a 9-year-old, and you end up hating that guy for some reason.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if that was you would feel so justified
100%.
and try to stand up to this old guy,
100%.
and everyone's just going to look at you and be like, what a fucking prick, like leave the old man alone. And I think that's the strength of the character, is that he can get away with so much because he just looks like he's right on the, like,
and the fact he
right
can get so
edge.
many people to get so close to knocking out a fucking grandpa, then not getting knocked out is exactly what he was talking about. Like that's just brilliance. It really is.
It is.
Yeah. I think
you can take him down.
This one definitely deserves to be on there. It's the first entry in this list that isn't a specific stunt. Obviously, the first appearance of Irving Zisman was on Jackass 1. You had Spike Jonze and you had Johnny Knoxville. It was more of a montage than anything else. But it was still great. And then every subsequent experience that we have with Irving Zisman is great.
The one they focused on here is my favorite one.
Is the one where someone stands up to him because he's giving the alcohol to the kid? Yeah. My major takeaway with this one is that character work is integral to Jackass at this point. And improvisation with Jackass equals a winning formula. Especially with someone like Johnny who ends up becoming so funny and so quick thinking on his feet. I can see why this one had such an influence for the rest of Jackass.
Am I the only one who wants to know what Irving smells like?
Oh man, every
time I see him,
I would be curious, but I don't want to find out. I know that much.
Are you thinking like costumize Irving Zisman, or if he actually was an old person? Because there's a big difference.
Dude,
he clearly smells like plastic and silicone or whatever they used to make in costume and makeup.
Yeah.
But like the original one, like he would smell like cigarettes and like that mothball-y shit from those flannel vests they wear, and maybe some scotch. That's what I'm thinking,
dude. That's why this is such a fucking Rubik's Cube, because I want to know what all of those things combined smell like. The makeup and the old man.
Don't worry, once I become an old man, you'll figure it out very quickly. You just need to come hang out with me for a few days.
Yeah, give Chris another couple years and we'll know.
Just, like 3-4 years and I'll be.
Yeah, we'll know exactly what Irving Zisman smells like.
Well, boys, just remember for this next sketch in the lineup that he brought it back with a full tank of gas. That's all that should matter, in my opinion. This is the rent-a-car crash-up derby from the beginning. The first sketch we get in Jackass the movie, actually. This one's a real fucking banger, no pun intended. I love this sketch. I sang it high praises in the original review. What I didn't know about this is that the owner was in on the joke. I don't think any of us saw that coming.
No, I love that little bit of insight.
Yeah,
that was maybe my favorite moment from this interview was Johnny saying that if they're ever doing a prank on a business, they always run it by the owner. But then the prank ends up being on the employees. That was a cool insight that I didn't realize.
And I like that insight, because if there is those times where you kind of doubt, like, how did they get in here and get away with this? Like, this got to be staged. It's not staged in the sense that the person being affected by it is in on it, but they do have the proper clearance, which actually justifies and makes it more realistic that these things do happen when you have those questions.
And this gives credit to the Jackass Forever sketch that I was not a big fan of for this reason. The one with Irving Zisman going into the ceiling, because I just couldn't see how they didn't see through that. But there you go. If they talked to the ownership beforehand and didn't tell the employees, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So much more sense. I love this sketch too, because Knoxville does mention something that I was losing my mind over in the original review as well, is wis he's in the destruction derby and that fucking car backs onto his windshield and a tire comes through the window and almost just, skins his fucking face. And he mentions that. So clearly he was coherent enough to that's a vivid memory for him. And
this one was so all encompassing. I think this is a sleeper that I think if you if you just told someone to write down a list and you gave them a minute to do it of the biggest Jackass moments, they may miss this one. But when you think about what it did, like first, like cold open of the movie, or like the first stunt of the movie, first major stunt of the movie, the first major movie, the fact that it was also a prank on people, but also had some danger involved into it and worked on so many different levels. Like this was one of the biggest examples of how to properly make a stunt work on several different levels. And it did that so well. So this to me is like the prank that has to be on here. Before this, you had ones like the Santa Colonic, Body in a Casket, Daddy and Baby, where it was like, what's the idea? Okay, let's go do that idea to people and do it a bunch of times and see what their reactions is. This is like, here's the idea. Let's make it more elaborate. Let's add some danger to it and then come back for the payoff. And I think it worked so well. We gave this one, by the way, a 9.5 for me, 9 Chris, 9 Jay.
So
Yeah,
far,
totally.
if you look at it, like our ratings, except for Jay, he's a little low on everything. But if you actually scale it to his bell curve, we're pretty fucking spot on to what Johnny's been thinking, right? Like there's not been something yet so far that we all kind of rated low that's made it on here. Basically, they've all been exceptional. So we're pretty fucking good at our job, I must say.
With the exception of maybe the next one. And I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are.
Why do you
on the
think I
next
just
one.
set that up like that? Don't.
Well, this next one, boys, electrical tape. The only reason that Bella from Twilight's vagina didn't also turn into a vampire. It'll save your life.
Oh,
Was that too much of a stretch?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, because Teeth, Edward, whomever. Chris, did you just
hit himself in the nuts?
What just happened there?
Oh, you got a fucking cramp.
Oh, you
Did
got
a vampire bite you in the genitals? Were you wearing electrical tape?
If I had electrical tape on, I wouldn't have this cramp.
If you're a listener out there and you want to see Chris writhe in true agony, if you want him to do his impression of Jackass falling into a pit of cactus, tune into YouTube and find he got a cramp and you look like you're gonna do you need to go to the hospital? Is that what we need to do?
It just fucking, it won't go away. I'm stuck. My leg's pinned underneath this desk. It's really tight space. You've been in this office before, Mikey.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never been in that much pain in there. I'd rather be in that office than in an anaconda ball pit. This one, pretty straightforward. You got Ryan Dunn. You've got, I think, Wee Man and Johnny Knoxville wrestling. One, and it turns out they didn't realize it, but 2 anacondas in a ball pit. Obviously, a very iconic one. The fact that this showed up as one of the most iconic moments, though, I'm questioning. I think it gave us a very iconic image. One that we remember, Johnny in the sailor's hat and the sailor's outfit with duct tape around his wrists. But do you guys remember watching this one and thinking like, this is a big moment for the franchise?
Maybe not for the franchise, but I don't have my ratings from the past in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I probably rated this the highest out of everybody, if I remember correctly.
Marginally. I gave this one a 6.9. You gave it a 7. Jay gave it a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, sorry, Jay, go ahead.
Nothing really happens, though. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is like nothing really happens. I think that's what fell short. I like the concept, though, right? Like it should have been great, but then, yeah. I almost felt like it shouldn't have been in the movie. Like there's just not enough there for me personally.
I think the reason why it's in the movie is the same reason why the Johnny Knoxville getting shot out of the cannon is in Jackass Forever. It's great promotional material. Like what's better than 3 guys in a sailor's outfit holding an anaconda? That sums up Jackass at this era, that rock star mentality. That image of Johnny Knoxville is the most iconic image next to him in a leather jacket with the aviators on. Like it's that and sailor Johnny Knoxville. But apart from that, like nothing really happens in this stunt. So this one almost feels like a GQ intern looking through stills of Jackass and being like, there's one, let's have him talk about that.
Knoxville just must have been fucking terrified though, because when he talks about the whole electrical tape on the wrists thing, he's like, I don't want to get, a couple fangs in the wrist or I'm going to fucking die.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, he's reminiscing in the video about how stupid that was, but clearly he must have thought there was some merit to that.
Oh, for
he's
sure.
Wearing it in the sketch. Both, you look at the wrists, they're both black electrical tape. I just thought that was such a strange, like, that's totally like a panic thought.
You know what's
that's
so
like a
weird about
last
that
minute-
to me? The fact that he, like, I get it. We've all had stupid ideas. Chris more than most. But when you look at someone like Johnny and he's like, yeah, I can wrap electrical tape around my wrists and that's going to prevent a snake from being able to bite through to my wrists. What do you do when you're working with electrical tape to rip it. You use your teeth.
point.
That's the tape's weakness. How
Dude,
does he think this is going to help him?
The funny thing is, Mike, that's a brilliant point. But you can't just bite through that. You got to tear it from the edge. But what my whole life watching this, every single time I see it, I'm like, that's really fucking smart of them to put that duct tape on. I was like, that's fucking good thinking. They're really thinking ahead. And when he explained it this way about how it literally wouldn't do anything, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like I felt stupid, you know?
It looked cool though. It looked pretty fucking cool.
To me,
cool.
it wasn't even cool. I just thought they were really using their heads. They were really looking out for themselves. I saw it instantly, and I thought I was so smart. Like, oh, I bet you they have that so that the snake can't bite through and save their veins, you know, so it doesn't hit an artery. And then, yeah.
You just had Manny on the
cool.
sidelines rolling his eyes like, what the fuck are you guys? That's not going to do anything.
Hopefully he lets go. Remember that line you said about the crocodile?
Yeah.
The object of this next segue into the next sketch is to see if we can make Chris's liver explode this time with another bad joke. Hey, this next one ain't no bull.
Oh, you're trying to get him to cramp by telling a bad joke?
No, it wasn't like a liver cramp. It was like a leg cramp. Like, you know when you get those fucking intense ones? Like where it's like in your foot or in your... This one was in my hamstring. I played a really intense basketball yesterday.
We're trying to
pretty
make
much a
podcast
superstar.
magic here.
Well, you got to try a little bit harder, Jake, because both
superstar.
me and Mikey, if you look at the video, we're like, what is he talking about?
I had a big sandwich for lunch. Like, you know when you eat a big sandwich and you just feel kind of sloppy afterwards.
Yeah.
Things aren't coming out right. So I have a lay down, much like the guys after this motherfucking
Jay,
event
do you
here.
do you have a big sandwich to start off all of your podcast recordings then?
Yeah, that's why I'm so shitty. Zing. Well, you know what, guys? I think you want to eat a light meal for this next one. I'm just going to keep coming up with fucking segues.
And you're just going to keep
me.
on fucking failing. Or what do they say about 1,000 monkeys on a keyboard or something like that? They'll eventually write Shakespeare?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's more or
Just
less
keep
the
going,
gist of it. Yeah. Yeah.
For layman's terms,
Well,
you know?
Okay, seriously,
Okay.
though. The Toro Todd, Gary LeFew's ranch. I guess this is where they fucking shoot all these bull stunts all the time, so that's cool to know. They've had much success there, says Knoxville, and they got an idea from Tom and Jerry, says Knoxville, which I thought was like super strange. I can't remember the last time I saw a fucking Tom and Jerry cartoon even on the air. That's like way past our time, but it was one where they had, I think, whoever the fucking cat was blindfolded, and I should probably know that. Is that Tom or Jerry?
It's Tom.
Does it matter?
Yeah, Tom's
It's
the cat.
Tom,
Jerry's the mouse.
Thanks, bud. So Tom's all blindfolded, and they have
Surprised
a
Mikey
bull
didn't know
running
that
after
one,
him.
getting all familiar with the kid shows.
I was half expecting him to just cut me off and tell me it was Tom, but it didn't happen. I was quite surprised. But yeah, so he gets the idea for that. They did that, but they did it with they didn't do it with a bull, right? It was just it was something smaller. Like, what did they say? I can't remember what he said. I didn't write it down. I was like, fucking
The yak. It was the yak. Because
It was a yak.
originally they
All
did
right.
the original yak attack from Jackass 1 on Gary LeFew's ranch. And Gary LeFew, it turns out, was the guy who recommended, like, Toro Todders exist. They didn't build this for the movie.
I thought
is
they
it
did.
actually called the yak attack, or are you just being precious?
No, I think I don't know, actually. Yak attack. It should have been called Yak Attack. I think it was
should
called
have
Yak
been.
Attack.
You remember Yak
All
Backs?
right.
Those little toys?
Fuck yeah, dude. My mind went there immediately. I fucking remember. We had 2 yak backs.
They're the
Those things were
fucking best.
shit.
I thought you were going to say, fuck, man, let's get on. But you're like, fuck yeah. And your excitement made me very happy because those things
Did you
rock.
guys ever,
Yeah.
if you had 2 yak backs, did you ever have one talk to the other and then replay it backwards, record it backwards, and then play it forwards
Yeah,
to
you
see if
bet
it
so.
played
You
the same
bet
thing?
it did.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we did because we were brothers.
Dude,
So
somebody
you knew the answer.
kickstart that. Bring yak backs back. And yeah, I know I could just use my phone, but it's not the same. You don't understand. You weren't there. But okay. So they do the Tom and Jerry thing. They recreate it. It's okay. But Knoxville's feeling like that's just the appetizer. He needs a main course. So this is where they start to come up with the Toro Todd idea. They get the 4 guys on there, and you know the sketch, you know the rest. The bull chases them around. They try to fuck each other over. It's a fun little game. Now, the bull's going to basically kill anything that moves, says Knoxville. They hate movement. People sometimes think it's color, the color red. No, he says it's all about the movement. And this Toro Todd is like a fucking nightmare. It's probably driving that thing nuts. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I like that this one's here. I think it's, insight into Johnny's relationship with bulls is always good as well. This one, similar to the weapons expert kind of being a placeholder for the munitions test and the riot control test and all that stuff. I think this is sort of like the quote unquote bull stunt. And that's sort of my takeaway of it. So, of course, this one has to be there. And as far as the bull stunts go, this is by far the best one. It's so good. And the fact that the whole Jackass crew gets in on it, I think is pretty important.
Yeah.
I loved the insight in this one. The fact that, Johnny Knoxville often got his ideas from cartoons. That was really cool. Like those are the sorts of things I'm looking for. Those little bits of knowledge that I love so much. So
Mikey,
what's that?
I was just going to say, according to Chris, like these aren't really that important anyways. Maybe we should just skip over it.
The bull,
the bull stick catches.
Chris will never live that down. He'll never live that down. Chris is like, are bulls that iconic in Jackass? I don't even know.
No, not at all.
I never said that.
Fake news.
Fake news.
That was the old Chris. That was before you changed your style. He was an entirely different guy. That old Chris,
My takeaway from this
like
one is that Jackass kind of has the ability to take a really good concept and build on it and get better at it. And I think this is a perfect example of that. Johnny, the idea of smoking and getting hit by a yak, evolving to the whole crew trying to avoid getting hit by a bull. That's just representative of their entire structure of how they've built their movies out. It starts very small and they just get more elaborate to the point of they're like making movies now. It's not just kids filming stunts. And this is a microcosm of that.
All right. Hey, this next one is somebody should have yelled corner because, Ehren McGhehey was carrying hot soup. Kitchen rules, baby. This is the high five. God, I'm fucking terrible today. This is like,
I'm the only one of the two of you that hasn't worked in a kitchen, so I don't know the corner nonsense.
I'm like the backup goalie.
The corner nonsense.
In the
I know behind.
I'm like the backup goalie in the playoffs who's sitting there thinking, there's no fucking way I got to go out there. And then like in the last game of the playoffs, they're down by a goal. Fucking main goalie pulls his fucking groin out and I have to go out there and fuck everything up and just sit in the shame.
I was going to say and save the day, but if you want to keep beating yourself up, Jay, that's totally up to you.
No, I'm having more fun going this direction with it today.
If you beat yourself up like a big sandwich and slap to the face.
There you go.
I had a big sandwich, okay? It was very large.
You didn't have any soup?
I did not have any soup with the sandwich.
Yeah.
Unlike Danger Ehren, who definitely got his fill of the soup. Hey, remember the high five? Let's pull that fucking spring-loaded thing back and let her rip. I don't really have much more to say about this, and I don't think Johnny Knoxville really did either, other than the insight that the whole crew was in on it, and he thinks that's what makes it great.
Yeah, did you guys find that as the interview went on, he kind of gave less and less insight into what was going on in a lot of the stunts? It's like it was pretty top heavy in terms of how much he was willing to say. But this one, look, everyone remembers watching this one. It may be one of the funniest on-set prank stunts that we've seen. It's from Jackass 3, the first stunt from Jackass 3. Obviously, we haven't done that on the podcast yet, but I kind of remember liking the greeting card one more, where there's or not the greeting card, the card like from the fan mail posted to the wall, and then the punching glove comes out and knocks the people off, like Wee Man standing on the chair. But of course, this one was great.
Of all time.
And I can't remember fully whether or not I like this one better or worse than that, but I like it, again, as a placeholder for the on-set stunts. You're never safe, and I think you as the audience member getting a peek in behind the scenes, like they're going, like what people forget, they're going on set to film stunts. And behind the scenes, while they're amping themselves up to like get hit in the nuts, they have to worry about big ass fucking hands slapping them from across the corner when they have hot soup in their hands. Like that's the type of shit that makes Jackass. It's everything in between the lines. If this were just stunt to stunt at this point, I don't think Jackass would have had as much relevance as it does today. So that's my major takeaway for this one.
Yeah,
for sure, man.
I love this one. Like it's funny, but like you said, Mikey, with the other one, like for the punching bag through the wall with the note, like if they would have swapped them out, I would have been happy. And if they touched on this one a little bit, but that one's significantly better in my opinion.
I think
disagree
so too.
with this one being on the list of the best ones ever.
Okay.
Yeah, you get a lot more substance in the note one, the Valentine heart thing, that one. And I think the fact that was the first one you see in the movie too, it kind of leaves a lasting impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when that was brand new, that sketch, and like even me as the fucking audience member didn't know what was about to happen, and then when it does, you're just blown away. Like I remember I could not stop laughing that entire sketch. It was just like ridiculous.
There are certain things that
when
happen
it happens again, it's even funnier. And then when they get Wee Man with the stool, it just like culminates. Like they couldn't have done that any better. It's like it's the initial shock value is like, oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. I didn't see that coming, and then the next one, you get the excitement of the build-up, like, oh, I know what's going to come, so I get to enjoy waiting in the anticipation. So you're like, that can't be topped. And then they get Wee Man up there on the chair, which is extra level of comedy gold. It just the layering of that one was, to me, I'm pretty sure I highly rank that as one of my favorite ones of all time.
Yeah, I think anytime Jackass does something like they set up a stunt, they show you the payoff once, and you find yourself thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to see how the rest of these play out. They've got you on the hook, and the onset stunts and our onset pranks are some of the best of those, I think.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it there. It's exactly that. Like when you just want to see more, you've seen it, you know the setup, it's going to be the same thing, but you're just as excited because it's so well done. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I'm glad that they kept doing shit like this in the future. They knew it's a good formula, and we've seen many more like these. Never gets old. But this next one I was surprised to see on the list. And I think if not for the fact that it was extremely dangerous, it's kind of a letdown. This is the Red Rocket. You may remember this one. Knoxville is wearing it's kind of like a Evel Knievel, white jumpsuit. And he's basically straddling the side of this big cartoon fucking stick of dynamite like looking thing. They're going to shoot this rocket off into the pier. But when the explosion goes off, he maybe goes halfway up the ramp, the launch pad, and just slides back down. Now, here's the thing. What you may not have noticed, and I think they do touch on this in the movie, but Knoxville points out that a metal rod actually shot out of the side of the rocket and was like just inches away from his ribs. Would have killed him for sure. Like that, a puncture wound like that, say goodbye. But not only that, we get a little extra behind the scenes tidbit here when he says the rod continued its journey, flew into the crew, and almost took two guys' heads clean off. They luckily moved out of the way. Yeah, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe.
Paintball superstar Mike Kasich almost took a rod to the face, which would have been tragic.
I think the craziest thing about it, though, Mikey, is that if you didn't know all that, this thing totally sucks. Like, it's a letdown. It's like, shouldn't have been here, but that makes it so much more rad. Just knowing that
even
stuff.
with that, you don't, just because something accident happened that we didn't even really get to experience truly how dangerous it was or how much of a big deal it was. You can't add that to the biggest moments of all time in the show, in the history of this. There's just way too many better things to choose from. Both rocket ones, in my opinion, but
I kind of disagree because I think it's important to have a stunt there to represent just how bad things can get and how close things have come to getting really bad. So I don't mind this one being there. We gave it a 7, 7, and a 7 across the board. So it wasn't phenomenal, but it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, Johnny Knoxville's not afraid to die. And things really can go wrong sometimes on the set. So I don't mind it being there. I agree that the stunt itself wasn't great. But here's another moment where we all know the Johnny on a rocket thing because that was heavily used in promotional materials for Jackass 2. Could it have been a GQ intern just picking moments again? It's very possible.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We may never know, but
I wonder if the GQ intern just started listening to our show and been like, just went through our lists and whatnot. Imagine that.
From us. Yeah. I thought you meant just listening.
That would have been an easy way to do
episode.
Research for the whole show, right?
Could have been. Just listen to a backlog of 60 episodes to prepare for this 20-minute research.
That would have been a lot of hours. Never mind. Hopefully, it was just a fan of
speaking of doing research, we don't do research.
Yes,
says Johnny Knoxville in this next one, the jet engine. So this one was. Man, again, this is another one of those ones that if you're telling me greatest stunts of all time, I probably wouldn't have thought of this immediately.
Yeah,
I think you guys would agree. But yeah, this is the one, if you don't recall, they had the big airliner jet come in off the runway, and they, just let the jets run on idle there, and the guys just kind of come behind, throw things into the jet stream. They jump into it to see how far it'll launch them. You get the classic shot of one of the guys grabbing an umbrella and going for a ride off a trampoline.
That was Spike. That was the guy who, as Johnny Knoxville said, quote unquote, powdered his collarbone on that, which is just, that made me cringe when he said it that way.
Totally. Yeah. It looks like fun, but when you put it into context.
I think it's Loomis, but they call him Spyke, I think sometimes.
But no, like Loomis is another nickname. He referred to in this as a completely different name. So maybe he's just got a bunch of names.
That could be
It's the fucking referee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's confused, he's the fucking referee in like every sketch where he's a referee.
Yeah, he's got the green beard, the green beaded beard.
That guy looks like he should be playing in a band with Rake Yon, like a metal band.
He looks like the human version of Oscar the Grouch.
Yes.
I was gonna say he looks like when your shower drain clogs and you like pick up a big thing of hair. That's what he looks like.
They just keep getting better. Oh my god. I don't really have much more to say on this.
I think those jokes are better than the sketch, to be honest. I have no idea how this is.
It was fun to watch, but like absolutely not one of the biggest moments in Jackass.
It's not iconic. It doesn't have any big moments. Yeah.
Did we rate this, Mikey? I can't remember.
We didn't even rate this one. No, it was more of an interstitial.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, this next one, the Bungee Boogie, again, same thing as the last one. Wouldn't have picked it, but it has a funny story behind it, so that might be why it's in here. The Bungee Boogie, and I'm just going off memory here. I didn't write down the details of the sketch, but it looks like they were sending a guy off of a boogie board with a big, they had a big elastic and into a pool, right? That was the Bungee Boogie. Mm-hmm. So basically, it was just, easy stunt to set up and do. But what's really going on behind the scenes is what shines here. They have a story about, everybody's favorite Chris Pontius. He was trying to stab Ehren McGhehey with his knife.
It's not the first time I've heard this story either.
And there's two stories about him trying to do it too, which is pretty crazy. Like he is the guy that everybody thinks is the most happy-go-lucky, friendly guy off the thing. And I'm like, the way Knoxville was describing it wasn't like a funny joke. Like it seemed pretty serious. No. And I just would never expect that out of him. So now I'm kind of a little bit more intrigued. Like, what's this other side of Pontius like?
Totally.
Like, is Pontius just playing one of his characters here, just trying to get a rib on everybody, play a joke? Or is he actually... Because you can see in an interaction in the next clip where they're setting up the tooth pull on Ehren, and he's clearly irritated with Ehren and his behavior. Like, you could see Pontius is like just... He's annoyed by him. So I almost wonder if it's just a beef between the two of them. They actually don't really get along on set or what it is. But he did try to stab him again a second time during that sketch. Apparently this happens a lot. The solution is to get Jeff in there to kind of cool things down. Apparently Jeff's always somehow he's just got that power. I don't know if it's something in his voice or the tone he uses, but Jeff Tremaine, he can...
it's because he's the one who writes their fucking checks. What are you talking about? He's their boss. He's got to, yeah. He says, hey, Chris, give me your knife. Otherwise, I'm not giving you a check.
Well, I hope in this next one that if we're talking checks, I hope Steve-O got a big payday. It's the Poo Cocktail Supreme. Yes, they say that only dog feces were allowed to be shown on film, but Knoxville let it slip that a few guys pooped in there too, so there you go. We can call that a crew poo if you'd like. A few crew poo in there. Now, there's a couple lines in this when Knoxville's going over the sketch for us. He says the poop did go weightless. Yep. It went weightless, which I love. And then there's another little rhyme here. Raining poo on all the crew. So this had a lot of good... there's a little poetry in there. I like the way they describe this one. Steve-O's a real trooper. Love that he did this. Apparently he kept his mouth open by accident, which is just fucking great.
The one thing he was told not to do is open his mouth. But of course you're going to do that. You're going to scream, especially because you're trying to sell it. They've done a lot of poo sketches on this one. I like this as one of the moments because it was a massive moment in the movie. And it was again that escalation of an idea way back to the Poo Cocktail. Obviously, this is the Poo Cocktail Supreme, but way back to the Poo Cocktail and Jackass. I think it was season 1, episode 1, where Johnny Knoxville just gets basically moved upside down in one, and they just constantly add to this idea. So that's cool. Everything being held together with duct tape. It looks like on the Jackass set, even when it's Jackass 3 and they've got a major budget for it. This just felt like you have like Bulbasaur, Venusaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, or like Charmander, Charizard, like all the evolutions of Pokemon. This feels like the final evolution of the concept of an outhouse stunt, and I like that for it.
Yeah, it's definitely like if you're talking about biggest moments, this is one that's extremely iconic. It's one that people always remember when they look back at these things. This is definitely deserving to be on the list, in my opinion. It might not be the funniest. It might not have that, but it's not called funniest moments, and it's not called most dangerous moments. It's called biggest moments. And that's why I disagree with a lot of these latter ones, even if, sure, someone off camera almost died. It wasn't a biggest moment for, I'm looking at it for the, the people around that are watching these things. And this is definitely one of those. There's no denying it.
Yeah, it's fair.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that as well. It's a classic. I think a lot of people, even if they're not big fans, remember this. I think they even parodied this. I remember seeing a clip on a late night talk show once where they like faked Britney Spears doing the Poo Cocktail.
Yeah.
And they showed footage from the movie.
I saw that, but I don't know what it was all about. I mean, this was obviously just like a big, it's also another one of those moments of like, it's amazing no one's ever died on the set of Jackass before, because like sometimes they go for something really big and they really don't put that much effort into seemingly making sure that it's safe for everyone around.
Yeah, they said they don't do any research, so I'm assuming this sketch was treated the same way.
I love how he in the same thing where he's talking about not doing research. He's also like, we are scientists, so we don't do any research. Yeah. It's like, is that what scientists fucking do?
I don't think that's how it works, Johnny, does it?
Yeah.
Well, boys, we go from spreading our cheeks and letting it fly to spreading our wings and letting it fly.
Nice.
Johnny Knoxville in the Flight of Icarus. Now they're starting to talk a little bit about stuff to come. Obviously, I believe this was released before the Forever movie came out, so a little bit of I think they give you a little bit of behind the scenes here, a little teaser.
No, March 1st would have been after, yeah.
It was after. Okay. Promotional material. So we're getting a couple of the new ones in here. The Flight of Icarus, if you don't remember, is Knoxville in the bird wings getting shot out of the biggest cannon I think we've ever seen in a Jackass film to date. He does say that there's no space in that cannon. And I know we had a debate between the three of us in our last review of the movie where we were trying to figure out, okay, how does that work? Is there like a platform in the cannon that launches them? Is this like a straight up real cannon? Well, he doesn't specify. When he says there's no space and it's super tight, I gotta imagine that at the very least, if it was a real cannon shot, I think we're all right that they lubed up the sides of that thing.
Hang on, Jay, no one was arguing this was a real cannon. No one,
Didn't one of you say that?
No one was thinking
sure
this was a
one of you
real
said
cannon.
that.
Unless you were thinking this is a real cannon. I would have imagined Chris would have thought that, and then you would have been like, Chris, that's ridiculous. And you would have been like, yeah, I guess I didn't think about that very much. No one was thinking they shoved him in there like they would shove a lead ball into a cannon, and that's what made him fly, like an explosion. I don't think that's how this works.
Well, they don't do any research, so for all we know.
That's true. Maybe it could work.
Yeah, what I did like is it did answer a different question for us. The question was, we were talking about how it's like some of these stunts you could tell, or it seems like to us, were just clickbait for posters and epic moments, and he very clearly makes it clear he knew he needed that money shot. He knew what he was there for, and it turned out to be, honestly, I think it's one of the greatest pictures from Jackass ever in terms of like history, the stretched out agree. He's so high in the air. It's a beautiful photo, and it just really epitomizes what Jackass is. And it's cool that they're open about that. Like, yes, some certain things we do like that. So doo-doo. I said doo-doo.
That was in the last stunt. No, but I agree, Chris. I think it shows the growth that we've kind of been hinting at this whole time. So many, with the Bulls and with the Poo Cocktail, it's them as filmmakers growing and knowing that they're making a movie. They're not making a skate tape anymore. Planning this one out so that they could get a poster out of it. It's great. I love that insight. I love that they're willing to admit it. I love that they planned it ahead. So I'm totally cool with this one being on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Sure. Yeah, it's an iconic shot for sure. Knoxville hit the water so hard he could not sit on his ass for 2 weeks, according to him. So
sounds rough.
Yeah, dude, I've been launched out of fucking inflatable tubes on the back of a speedboat before and landed, flat on my belly. And it just looks like you come out of there like you just had a bad sunburn. So I can only imagine the pain that this man must have went through for this one. But yeah, guys, we've made it to the end of the video, and the final one is another from Jackass Forever. And not surprisingly, Another boring bull sketch, hey Chris? This is the magic trick. And apparently they did this in 2 takes. I didn't see that coming. So they had a first take, didn't go so well. They had to change bulls. They brought in the new bull who goes by the name Pecker Wrecker. And basically, great name, fantastic. They basically brought him in and that was it. Like one and done. You saw what happened in the movie. So Knoxville came out with a broken wrist, rib, a concussion, and a brain hemorrhage from this sketch. Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, this one is important to have on the list. I like that it's the last one as well, as almost like a hat tip to the fact that this has to be the last concussion that Johnny Knoxville has. Otherwise, he's seriously going to start to put himself in jeopardy. I love my favorite thing about this interview and Johnny's reasoning for why it's on this list is the fact that he says they did the first take and the bull gored him and it hurt, but it didn't look like it hurt. And we talk about this so often on the podcast where I always think back to this stunt where they're doing the hockey checks on the ice and it just doesn't look like it hurts because we watch hockey and we don't think that getting checked or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now they have to start thinking about making the stunt look like it hurts more than it actually hurting. And I totally agree with that because they show some examples. And like, for example, Ehren McGhehey breaking his neck when he does that flip and he lands on his neck. I hate watching that one. It looks kind of fine because he's in the fat suit. It's kind of padded when he hits it, but knowing that that's the damage that's there is like, I don't like that one. It looks too gross. And I think that getting gored, just watching it and not knowing that he gets hurt, I guess maybe some people like that. I don't know. I never need to know that it hurt or think that it hurt. I just kind of like the spirit of the stunt, but it's clear that that's not the audience that they're filming these for.
No, dude, it's so true though. Like, I think that's why you think of professional wrestling, you know that they're safe, they're taking care of each other in there, and you can just watch that shit for days and enjoy the athleticism. But then you see something like Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin and the pile driver that went wrong and he broke his neck. Like, you watch that, you're just like, oh, like you feel the shock that must have went through that man's body, and you know something's wrong. You know, like suddenly this wrestling thing has become very icky, and I don't like it anymore.
100%.
I totally see what you're saying. Yeah.
The funniest part of this interview though, that like I don't understand what he meant by it, but I think I'm glad he said it. He says, they're like, what was your thinking behind this stunt? And he's like, well, see, I really wanted to trick the animal.
Yes.
What? In 100%. What way?
I caught that
about,
so
Johnny?
hard. Yeah, like I want to prank an animal, like trick an animal. You're like, what? What do you do that? Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? Yeah.
I don't get how he could have. I think the bull tricked him into thinking he was still agile enough to take a bull hit. But hey, here we go. We got some good footage out of it.
Totally. And that brings us to the end of this YouTube video, which is kind of strange to say because I think this is the first time we've done something like this, but let us know what you thought of it. I think before we wrap up for good though, guys, we want to do something like we always do to end our shows, something to kind of look at everything in the bigger picture. Right now at this time, we're going to each give our personal biggest moment, not the ones that appeared here, but something we felt that could have fit in with these. Mikey, I see you're raring to go here. Why don't you tell us yours?
Yeah, I'll start off. I mean, there are so many that you can choose from here, and I'm going to strategically pick this one, because it's very early on in the Jackass run. It's from season 1, episode 3, and it shows a different side of Jackass than the California Jackass that is largely represented in this list. It's Bam kicks his dad's ass all day. Not my favorite stunt, but as a moment in Jackass, us as kids watching a kid punch his dad on camera was something wilder than I've ever seen in my entire life. I want to say that to also just give a shout out to Bam's impression that he left on Jackass, because he's very clearly missing from this list in a large capacity.
That's so true. For me, you know what? There's so many of them. And guys, if you want to get a list, if you want to go back and find it, just listen to any of our stunt drafts, for example. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a pretty quick summary for you guys to find a whole bunch of them that are some of our highest rated ones that probably should have been on this list opposed to some of the other ones. That being said, I'm going with the cornfield sledding.
I knew you
No,
were
I'm
going to do
just
that.
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My actual one, I'm saying Nutball. Nutball is definitely one of those ones.
Great.
It's
come
the
on,
camaraderie
yeah.
between the guys. It shows that Jackass vibe. It's early on, and it's just fucking. It's almost a perfect sketch. So that's the one I'd be going with.
I agree, especially because I don't think there's a moment on this list that really captures the best of the camaraderie element of
That's
Jackass,
exactly what I was
and
going
that
for.
was very much missing on this.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, Chris has already subverted expectations. I can't do my bit.
The corn sledding. I knew if he didn't, you were going to do it 100%.
No, I was going to do a whole thing about the Johnny Knoxville jump in the LA River, but come on.
Yeah.
I think we all know that's a close number 2. But this next one, I would have to pick. It was... here's what I felt was missing. The types of sketches that are just the dudes in a hotel room going, hey, we should try this thing real quick. And then it ends up like blowing everybody away.
Totally.
I think you guys know where I'm going already with this. It's the muscle stimulator. Would have loved to see that in here. Yeah, it's not the most hard-hitting thing you've ever seen. It's really fucking stupid, but that's the point. Like, just the fact that this is the type of thing you go to the movie and you're hoping to see something great. You don't know what it is yet, and then you see this and you're like, that was the thing that I didn't know that I needed, and I could just go back and watch that over and over again. And it's the same thing with Nutball, like with Chris. You know, it personifies what is great about Jackass. It's stunts and hanging out with the boys, a little behind the scenes, a little making of. You know, it's natural, it's organic, and I got to give it to that one. I wish we could get a little behind the scenes from Knoxville on that and how it came to be, but who knows? Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah, I think yours and Chris's kind of share a little bit there, and I think it's important to have those ones represented because there is bigness in those moments, even though they're not elaborate, and I think that's what makes them important.
Yeah, and that pretty much does it for us here for this episode, the special bonus episode. Now, you guys are probably wondering what we're going to do next. We're not saying anything yet, but guys, like we've done, I can't believe what we've done. I just wanted to like look back for a quick moment and just think about, holy shit, guys, we've done the whole TV series. We've done the first 2 movies. We've done Forever, a little bit of Viva La Bam, a little Wild Boys. I mean, I know there's so much left for us to cover, so much ground, and we're finding little nuggets just like this one all the time. So if you guys like this, you like hearing these little behind the scenes, these things you didn't think we'd cover, you know, if we can dig out these things from the cellar of the Jackass library, let us know. We'll probably do more of these in the future. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. Go to @JackastPod on Instagram and Twitter where you can reach us. Just let us know what you think of this. If you watch the video, what you would pick for your favorite stunts. We want to hear from you, so check us out there.
We also got a Vine now. We have a Vine.
Shit.
I have not posted anything yet.
We have a what, Chris?
Vine.
We don't have a Vine.
Sorry,
The
TikTok.
defunct,
TikTok. I'm not like hipping with it, man.
I was
like
excited there for a second.
It took all my protests, and I finally had to do it. Like I don't want anything to do with TikTok, but a lot of people do, and I think a lot of our clips and quick little excerpts would be pretty good for there. So we're gonna give it a shot. You can follow us on there. Same as Instagram @JackassPod. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yes, follow us there, and we have gotten a lot of requests to cover Haggard. So that is in the pipeline somewhere. We've got a couple episodes planned out that we have to work some structure around first.
I think they want us to cover Haggard. I think they want us to cover Haggard just so we have to waste a fucking bunch of time. It is not good.
If I remember correctly, that is where Dunn tries to fuck himself in the ass.
It's Bam's like movie that he made. I'm looking forward to that one. Thanks, fans. Really appreciate it.
Dude, oh man, it's been so long since I've seen that. I don't have fond memories. I was probably too young to watch that shit, but we'll see if it brings back a little PTS Dave. But yeah, that pretty much does it for us, guys. Bye. I'm Jason Wellwood.
Bye. I'm Chris Ehrenworth.
Bye. I'm Mikey Ehrenworth, and this has been Jackast.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Get into it.